nobody dies in my poetry. Y'all laughing.
Well, not as you can.
No, you can laugh at me, it's fine.
For real.
You know, I'm getting really sick of having this conversation. People always act like the first time I say it is the first time they're hearing it. Do not trust everything the poet says. Do not seek importance in the poet's life. Do not fall in love with the poet. These are all bad ideas. If you do these things regardless of these warnings, then do not be alarmed if you become a poet. And surprise, surprise, nobody dies in poetry. A past lover of mine asked if I would ever write her a poem. So I gave her the benefit of the doubt, considered that even though she listens closely to everything I say, it's possible she may not have ever heard a single thing. So I tell her, well, nobody dies in my poetry. Again, she listens but does not hear me. She goes on to speak about how she wishes she could be a poet too, how nobody would die in her poetry either. And you know, it's something about the way people smile in your face that makes it hard to tell when they're lying through their teeth to write, verb, to mark letters on a surface, typically with a pen, paper, or pencil. Poem, noun, a piece of writing combining both speech and song that is almost always metaphorical. To write a poem, translation, to split yourself into fragments small enough for a crowd to digest but sharp enough to still hurt going down, limp off the stage and leave the blood for the next artist to clean up. You want to be a poet. Sometimes poetry feels like a terminal illness, a fatal mental condition, and baby, you're just going to have to bleed until you're better. Or at least until you die. Most days, I don't know if I'm fighting my demons or becoming someone else's, saying all these things about love just to turn around and fuck a good thing up. To be a poet is to have a voice that sounds like a missed phone call, like a sigh before the line goes dead. You want to be a poet until you see how real it gets when it's 3 a.m. and all you got is paper and some secrets. Poetry is kind of like pouring your last bit of alcohol down the drain and still flinching from the burn of it going down the wrong pipe. To be a poet is to talk about all the battles you fought and lost, and how you still ended up as a dead thing with survivor's guilt, but you want to be a poet, right? Well, you're going to get really sick and tired of talking, but you're going to be even more sick and tired of being quiet. It might take me 47 days to write a poem that I only get 3 minutes to say. I just wrote this the other day. Really means I started this a few years ago. But since then, I've poured myself into people with cracks in their cups, had a few lunches at a cemetery, went flat broke, skydived into a volcano, built a future with people who ain't even around to see it, but you want to be a poet. Poetry is a lot like a fire escape, which is to say it may be the only way out when everything is burning. I've realized that the word happiness can be a really funny way of saying distracted. I've learned that poetry can be a really strange way of asking for help. Sometimes being a poet is to be as quiet as a closed casket and still the life of the party. 9 times out of 10, I have a tighter grip on my pen than I do on reality. So when I say I have written this the other day, that is to say I have successfully split myself wide open again. For your amusement, for everyone's praise, just so you know I was here once and it might have been beautiful. So when I tell you that nobody dies in my poetry, I mean to say that past lovers who used to feel like home live rent-free in my memories. And I'm still alive, but so is the heartache, because nobody dies in my poetry. When they hear the poet talk about her assault, it means that she is still alive. But so is the abuser, because nobody died in her poetry. When they hear the poet talk about his addiction, it means that he is still alive. But so is the addict, because nobody dies in poetry. When they hear mothers talk about how they divided their bodies into pieces, it means that she and her children are still alive. But so is the absent father, because nobody dies in the poem, which is to say, my poems ain't nothing but a documentary on how I backwards became myself and wrote ledger like a sun-bleached scripture in an attempt to maintain myself. The hardest part about being a poet is the realization that it feels like a diagnosis. Nobody tells you how to not live the rest of your life like a symptom. So when the past lover of mine asked if I would ever write her a poem, I asked her a question this day. And she listened to everything I was saying, but I'm not quite sure she was hearing me. Baby, do you want to be a poet? Do you want me to write you a poem? Thank you.